All right. We got a microphone. Cool. Should be good. And then we'll click go live here. Facing the right direction. Nice. This is day 3. Still looks good. All right. So I guess we got to do back windows. Looks like everything's good. Nice. All right. All right. So we're gonna start with the back window on this as an example, and then you guys can practice on this one and any of the other ones that we have too. So front windshields on those, front windshield on the Tesla is open, and then same thing for the back window on it too. So we'll start with going over a demo on this. Let me grab a roll of film here. We're going to be practicing with GeoShield C2 carbon, and let's start with just getting it prepped. So, sprayer, let me grab that. All right. So first thing we'll do is we will spray this off. Back windows, like glass just cleans up fairly quickly unless there's like some sort of like paint overspray or tree sap. So if you feel like a tree sap on there that's just like, you know, like big bumps on the back window, then that you can take a razor blade and just knock those off. Most vehicles, if they're not sitting under a tree, they're gonna just clean up really quickly. So they'll have a layer of grime on it. These Libman squeegees are great. And we'll use a Libman squeegee and a tri-edge scrub pad. So same company that makes these cards right here. They also make these scrub pads. They have backing plates for them. So those are glass safe. I'll go through and just scrub the outside, squeegee it off, and then after every squeegee, I'm gonna just wipe it off with a towel. That just prevents smears being left behind, because we're gonna put on another product right afterwards, and I'm gonna show you guys kind of like half-half. Because otherwise you can just squeegee it off and then just throw, we're gonna use dryer sheets, but we're gonna use a product called Glass Aid. We're gonna just put that around half, and I'll kind of show you half with it and half without. This is a 1/4 inch tape. It's 10 mils thick, and I'm gonna use this to outline my border. The main reason that I use it is I'll cut on this rather than dragging a blade along the window. Because if you look close, especially along the black border, you're gonna see like tons of little blade scratches. But on a new vehicle, what can happen is just like you wanna keep a blade nice and sharp, but there's varying qualities of glass, and you're usually gonna create some sort of a micro scratch on it anyways. So if you use a stainless blade, snap it, keep it nice and sharp, and you use light pressure, you're less likely to see any type of damage on there. but you can still create a really fine line around the window. And that depends on the glass. Sometimes that line will just be a little bit more apparent. So just be cautious. So that's why I like to use this around there. I can see the border when I'm cutting it, and then it'll just keep the glass extra safe. And as far as placement goes, I'll put this right on the outside edge, so you can still see the whole dotted border. So as long as I'm cutting on this line, I'm cutting outside that border, and that's the goal. So we're gonna use a dryer sheet and coat this. Is the car headrest faded? Yeah, actually, really bad. They look purple. If your car sits out in the sun all day and you don't have tint on it, it'll fade your interior, like, for sure. Especially fabric ones. Okay, we're gonna lightly spray this. So in order to put the glass aid tape on, it has to be completely dry, and you can't just use a towel and wipe off the edges, and everything has to be like squeegeed dry. Otherwise, you'll stick the tape to it and it'll start to release, especially when it gets wet. But if you squeegee everything off and it's totally dry and there's no smears, it'll stick really, really well. So what I'll do is I'll take a dryer sheet, I'll spray the dryer sheet, I'll spritz the back window, because the more water that you use, like, you want to make sure that it's evenly coated. The more water that you use, the longer this is going to take to set up and dry. But the nice thing about dryer sheets is, like, there's a handful of other products that you can use. Dryer sheets are very foolproof. We're using Snuggle dryer sheets in particular. They just work the best for this film. But you don't ever worry about putting too much dryer sheet on a back window. So that's why I like practicing with it. It's just they're way more foolproof in the beginning. They do take a few minutes to actually dry. So this is something that I'm going to do first, and then I'll go tint the rest of the car. And then when I get to the back window, if you just like leave it alone, it'll dry within like 10 minutes or so. Unless it's a hot day outside, then it'll dry much quicker. But you can also take a heat gun. But you want to make sure the entire back window is completely dry. So if some spots are dry, like this is dry, but if some spots are still wet, your tint's gonna stick really aggressively to any wet spot. So it'll make it way harder to shrink a window. So that's why you wanna make sure all the corners, just the entirety of it is dry. Anytime you have a wet spot on a back window and you're trying to dry shrink, tint sticks really aggressively to water patches. So you can use it to help you out sometimes, but if you're just trying to get the film on there, just trying to shrink it, you don't really plan for where those wet spots are. You just want to make sure everything's dry. This car is rusted out, tinting the windows. This is for a class. But yes, I've tinted many cars that are like that. Like fog lights just like hanging off the front of the car, just dangling. And they're getting window tint. Okay. Typically, they just want something on it. But there's people that'll for sure tint their windows far before fixing their car. All right, so let's put some film on here. You just want to make sure that you cover the whole outlined area, and then you just want it to be squared up. So we're gonna look for any obstructions that it's running into, and we just want to make sure this is squared up. So I'll use like the top corners here as a reference point, just to know if I'm like straight on this one. So right there, it's pretty much lined up there. We're overlapping anything. And so now we need to do a rough trim. So I'm gonna take my card. I'm just gonna tack it here in the center, just so it doesn't move around on me. And we're gonna take that snitty cutter, if I still have it in here. Here we go. And on the side edges, you can give yourself just a little margin, but you can actually cut it fairly close to the side edges. On the top and bottom, you can leave it as long as you want, as long as it's not running into anything. So there's no antennas. It's a flat roof line here that just goes straight up. We could leave it long on top if we want. And then on the bottom, we're gonna run into the trunk lid here. So we're just gonna cut it shy of that. It's nice to have a little film to grab at the top and the bottom, but you just don't want it to overlap and we got a leaf. We don't want it to overlap anything because it's going to screw up our shrink. Why not just use the plotter to cut it out? Do either of you guys have a plotter?
No, I don't.
They don't. I'm doing a class and they don't have plotters. So if we use a plotter, how are they supposed to learn? Chat. Huh, chat. So the one nice thing about Glass Aid too is that it's a white line, so through a lot of shades you can kind of see your edge a little bit better. This is a little more challenging to see right here. Now we need to tack it here in the center and just make sure that we have our midpoint so we can lift it back up. And so the dryer sheet, what it does is it acts like a tack cloth or like a tack surface. So it's just like a waxy surface that grabs the tint. But you'll notice it's dry and I can wiggle the tint and it all kind of floats. So it's easy to manipulate and it floats. So when we're shrinking it, it's not trying to grab anywhere on the window. But as soon as we take our card and we press it down, now in the center, it's gonna be stuck there if I don't wiggle it too aggressively. So it's gonna be stuck there. So you can tack it on the sides and it's gonna grab. And what you do is you're sectioning off basically like quarters. We're gonna shrink from here over. Oh, I'll use the Sharpie on the back window. So we're looking for like our midpoint here and there. So we're basically just gonna section it off into quadrants. And we're gonna shrink all in here first. So you're looking for, basically on most back windows, you're looking for the center of the glass, and then as soon as the back window starts going in the other direction, you're gonna shrink kind of like up to here, but you don't need to continue to shrink over there until you get to the other side. But we're gonna flatten this out. You wanna just make sure you lift it, kind of pull here in the center, flatten it out and just like stretch it out, and then tack it down. And then for the side edges, you have these side fingers. Tint cannot be shrunk at all on the sides. So we're just gonna take the very edge of the card. You can brush these down and just tack the very edge. Don't take your whole card and block off 4 or 5 inches of film here because you're taking away areas, like you're gonna force a lot of film to bunch together, like right in here. You wanna give yourself still as much like real estate as you can to shrink that stuff on the side. So you're just tacking down the very sides. Center, tack down the sides. So the Glass Aid tape is good and bad. It's 10 mils thick, so it's raised, which means that it'll let air sneak underneath it. So it might look a little funny when you're new to shrinking there, where if you learn to shrink somewhat without it, it'll just stay out of your way. Kind of like the tape on the sides. As soon as it starts releasing, you know, if it gets in the way, it's not gonna make it easy on you. So for practicing, it's one of those things where it's like it's good to outline the windows, but these are all practice cars. I don't care if they get scratched up or anything. So it's just like we're learning shrinking. We can introduce the tape later or just any time. I just want you to see one side versus the other. Any questions so far? All right, now the fun stuff. So we're gonna turn our heat gun. We turn this up on high. This is just a cheap Wagner heat gun. These are honestly one of the best heat guns. You can find them everywhere too. Heat guns generally, like the more you spend on a heat gun, you don't get necessarily stuff that you need for window tinting, because we just need a heat gun to get really hot and we want it to blow some air. So most heat guns, the more you spend on them, they have features, but they don't really output more heat. Your house outlets will generally give out like 15 amps, sometimes 20, depending on the circuit that you're on. So most of them are basically going to start pushing it up to like 1,000 to maybe like 1,200 watts before they're really going to start going to 1,500. Because otherwise they're going to start breaking, you're going to start tripping circuits. So there's really only so much heat that comes off of most heat guns. Wagners are one of those ones that are actually really good for the money. So we want to take our heat gun, point it at a 45-degree angle in the direction that we're moving. So when we're going up, we're going to point it at a 45-degree angle going this way. And you have to kind of like switch hands. So what you're going to do is you're pointing the heat gun right where it, like just after where it connects to the glass. So right here, it's touching the window, and here's my air pocket. So I'm going to hit right there with the heat, and this is what I'm looking for. As soon as my air pockets, like these fingers, as soon as they go from looking like this, like we got big ones here, this whole area, right? Like these big ones. As soon as they go from looking like that to looking like this, that's what I'm looking for. I want them all to go that way. And so when they're like this, you actually don't want to keep hitting them with heat. They're shrunk. The film has settled down to the glass. You just push them forward. And you push them forward basically like everything's going to kind of like stem from the center here. And it's going to kind of like go straight, and then it's going to kind of go outwards at a bit of an angle in here. And you're looking at these like little ocean waves, and you're pushing them to a shoreline. So whichever direction that these shrunk areas are, so if they curve like this, I'm going to take my card, I'm going to match it up, and I'm going to push it out in that direction. But you just want to avoid trying to press down film when it's like this, because this is film that is not shrunk yet. So heat gun, 45-degree angle, the film's going to start to kind of like warp around, but it will eventually go from being that to then, just leave this out. See, we got this one, we got this one, that one, that one, that one, up to this point right here, because that's where we start seeing this again. So I don't want to take my card all the way down there. I'm just carding right up to that line, and I'm matching my card with the direction that it's going. So right here, that's just like that right now. So what I can do is match my card with that, press it to my center point, stop, and then this is the next part that needs to be shrunk. The farther out you go from the center, the slower it's going to be to shrink the film, because you're shrinking more and more film together. So again, we've got this, 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 that. And so what you really notice, see how I said it kind of stems from the corner. And when you go out that way, push that, match my card up, push that down. When we get to here, we're not just pushing it flat down, we're still matching our card up with what the film is doing. So this is going this way. I'm just going to push that right out the side. And now it's right in here that needs to be shrunk. So it's just these simple rules that the sooner you learn to watch for these things, the faster you're going to be able to shrink windows. So it's just identifying when it goes from here to this state. So all these can just be pushed straight down and out the bottom. So let's go to this side. So we'll make less Sharpie lines on this one, but exact same thing.
Is it common to roast the trunk lid since you have to use more heat towards the bottom?
Is it common to roast the trunk lid? Not really. You're really like pointing it more at the film, and the film is gonna shrink faster. So by the time you get down here, like you end up like you're 45 in the direction that you're shrinking, and then when you get to the very bottom, because you have to use more focused heat, you're just gonna be really close, and you can point it like straight at it instead of just more at the trunk lid. You'll like always burn the film far before you would damage anything on the car.
Yeah, I noticed too how he switched hands and he's aiming the heat kind of in the direction he wants his fingers to go. That's kind of the main point. Basically one of the main fundamentals of it. And the other thing is like he's always moving.
Yeah.
So there's a lot like you can basically breaking down to like just a few fundamentals like that. And as long as you follow that, it applies to every background, right?
So we got all these lines right here up to, this is where it starts looking bunched up, is right down here. Where's the cap? I took that off. My Sharpie's already getting wasted. So I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna match my card up with those lines. So it's kind of like angled right there. So I'm just pushing it out at an angle until it basically melts into that area where it needs to be, or shrunk farther. So what'll often happen towards the end is I'll hear people say the film doesn't shrink. They'll shrink it about this far, and you'll like naturally press it in, and you start getting like little sharper points there. This area is mostly flat. Here still should be shrunk a little bit more. If I keep my heat gun this far away, it's not really gonna do much. You're getting it hot, where here, it was plenty to shrink it. It's just the film starts to bunch up so much together that you have to get your heat gun closer, and that's when you're really gonna see a reaction. So especially towards the very end, you're gonna have your heat gun within an inch or two, but you're gonna move it really quickly because that's really, really hot. So if I keep my heat gun this far away, it's warm, but it's not gonna burn me. If I put it really close, it's gonna burn me. But if I keep my heat gun moving, so it's just like finding that sweet spot where like you don't need to change the trigger on the heat gun. You're just gonna change the distance and your speed. All right, let's go to the top area here. So all this needs to be shrunk. And it's important reminder here. Sometimes when you're shrinking, the film might do that if you didn't tack it down quite right to the edge. that's okay, as long as you just identify that it did that, and make sure that whenever you go to shrink, your side is tacked down. It's an anchor point. It's going to hold the tint. So as the tint shrinks together, it doesn't pull it away from the side edge. So right in here, all needs to be shrunk. So we're gonna start with that. And especially top corners, they're gonna swoop out the sides, like the top corner side. So like, you'll see kind of as we card this out, the top corners will start to, you'll need to readjust them a bit. Because you start seeing this, where it starts curving. So all this is just flat and straight, so we can push this straight up. But then as we get towards the side, it starts angling. So rather than just trying to just card it straight up and push material in here, you want to take it and you want to stretch it out. That's what we do down here. You take it and you stretch it out the window. So card, match that up in the direction that it's going. Little ocean wave going into shoreline, coming out this way. And then that corner here then gets readjusted just a little bit. Lock this down, and now I have a little finger here that I can shrink. And this is where the next point that I have to shrink is. That's tension. Yep, that's a good way to describe it. As you shrink it, it's pulling down to the back window. And then it's just like, if it could keep pulling, there we go. Like if you heat it more, it'll keep pulling, it'll keep pulling, it'll keep pulling. But basically like these tension lines are pulling all the way from here. So what you're doing is you're shrinking enough to form to the window, and then you have to kind of like stretch it out over the window, and that's pulling it across. So until it's pulled tight, you see those tension lines. But, oops, I knew it was there, and I just leaned too far. So where you're gonna get creases is when you're always bunching too much film together. So if I apply some heat to this, but I'm not really shrinking it, and I just start carding it up, and then I just put some heat on it, but I'm not really shrinking it much, right? And then I just make these big swoops. What happens is you get, like, this is what happens. You get these really sharp fingers. So instead of these softer, like, air pockets that are going this way, when they're like this, that is compressing too much film together. That's where you get lots of creases. So it'll feel a little weird to just, like, you can put a lot of pressure when it's shaped like this and push it forward and not worry about creasing it. But when it's like this, that's like, you always notice, like, when you get a crease, it'll typically look like this. So you can always back up as well. So remember, this is like it's a tack surface. So if I go a little bit farther with my card and I start to see some really aggressive fingers, you can actually release the film back to where you were before. And so now this is all loose, and we can take our heat gun and then continue to shrink it like normal. But anytime you've actually put like a real crease into it, there's no fixing it. You can soften them up a little bit, but you'll generally always see them. See, we got these lines. They're kind of pointed here at an angle. So we're gonna card it at that same angle, match it up, and just stretch it out over the window. Readjust that side. We're carting up to where this is. See where that's still loose? And we're gonna continue from there. But during your practice, that's what we're gonna be reminding you of, little adjustments. That's the whole point of it. But this is the fundamentals, is tag it down in the center. Make sure your sides are always locked down, so when you're shrinking, especially close to here, it's got something to anchor to. Keep your heat gun moving. Just wait for it to shrink down till you get those little sideways air pockets, and then push them out in the direction that they would go if they were little ocean waves headed into a shoreline. And then you're good to go. So you only need to actually shrink up to that dotted line. So let me grab a light. So here, I can see it pretty clearly. I'll still take a light, and I like to shine it right on the tape so I can see it really clearly. I'll extend my blade so I can get a nice low angle, kind of dig it into the tape a little bit. So since my tape is on the outside of my border, as long as I'm cutting on the tape, it's fine. But you're generally just shooting for like a 1/8 inch border. There isn't any type of exact, like, you need this border. You're just trying to cover any light gaps on the inside, is all you're trying to do. So by giving yourself a little margin, when you get the film on the inside, you can wiggle it around and make sure everything's covered. It doesn't have to be exactly where you trimmed it, but as long as you're within that margin, then you're fine. So if we're not using the tape, again, I tinted like this for many years, but it makes it harder. It always makes it harder to see this bottom edge. But you can take a stick light, you can put it on the inside of the car, or with the lighter shades, you can shine it through and bounce it off the deck lid and still see those dots, but that's, you see that little border there? Just try and use lighter pressure, and you'll snap your blade a couple times while you're cutting it. But it does make it easy to cut. It's just trying to see exactly where you're cutting is the difficult part. But yeah, take a light, brighten up the inside, trim on the outside of those dots. Can of Sprayway. Oh, that works too, yep. Anything to lighten up the inside can help you out quite a bit. So what somebody was saying in the chat, which I have a bottle, so I'll grab it really quick. Anything that can help create some contrast will help see that edge. So I like the Glass Aid tape. Let me grab a bottle here. Oh, they really changed their cans. What happened to these? Interesting. Yeah, so like a foaming glass cleaner. Somebody's saying they'll take it, and then they'll spray it along the edge, and you can see that a little bit better. So anything that can create some contrast there will help. I don't know if you can Oh yeah, that'll help a bunch. See, brighten that up on the inside. You can see that a lot better than just right there. That soaks up the light. That's nice. All right. So after I trim it, where's my trash can? We're gonna shrink it just a little bit farther. Because on the top and the bottom, when you trim it, see these little wobbles here? See how you can still see? Like sometimes you'll get it a little bit more prominent. You'll have some small fingers or some little wobbles along where you trimmed. Because where you trimmed here, this was all connected and it was part of your shrink. So you can take your heat gun, just put it close, and just make sure that that bottom edge is gonna lay flat. Same thing on the top. It's much more important on the bottom because it's difficult to reach the bottom and water will settle down here. And so sometimes you'll have a small finger pop up and you'll spend a half an hour trying to get that sucker to lay down. Where if you had just got it from the very beginning, it likely would never have popped up. So I'll usually pull off the glass aid too before I do this. So shrink the whole thing, trim it out, and then remove the glass aid and then touch up the top and the bottom. But I'll leave this on just for some practice, so you don't have to reapply it. There we go. Oh, you know what? I will take it off. I'll have you guys clean it, reapply dryer sheet. We'll start with both the front windshield, I think, on that one. Yeah, let's do that. Actually, I have both you guys, one on each side of this car. So we'll clean it off, reapply the dryer sheet, and then we'll have 1% on each side of this one for this one.
Do you want me to prepare any of the others, or do you want me to replace straight on?
Just have some stuff by there. Like a couple, or like just as long as we have a dryer sheet, a place to grab the dryer sheets and everything is quick. Oh, I see what you mean, like squeegee it off.
Well, just like if you like, you know, maybe get like one of the other, like the windshield on the focus.
Oh yeah, just all prepped. Yeah, that's fine. And then any of the successful patterns that we trim out, we're gonna save those and we're gonna use those for installations after lunch. Yes, we are practicing window tint. So we're another Sharpie. Thank you. But yeah, I'm teaching a window tint class right now. Everything's still working? That's cool. Oh, it just works. Maybe that's why. So all the class info, 313tint.com. But they're 3 days. This is day 2. You have employees just to put windows on? What? That's crazy. Okay, so we'll put another piece of film on here. Put that over there so I don't knock it over again. All we got some heat guns. So you guys can go ahead, tack it in the center, and then just do a rough trim. So you need to shorten it up on the sides and then shorten it up on the bottom a little bit. A bar of soap can work the same as dryer sheets without the chemicals. I need to try some more soap bars. They do have a similar effect with this film anyways. The ones that I've tried so far, they need a little bit more stick. So I'm still playing around with that. I actually have an entire thing of, that reminds me, I have an entire thing of Irish Spring over here. So I wanted to try these ones. That's Pro Classic? No, this is C2 Carbon. And yesterday we were practicing with Pro Nano ceramic, actually. They usually send out a lot of C2. Not the Ultima, somebody's baby mama out here wrecking lives. But yeah, Irish Spring, and then I really like this this applicator. These are just like ceramic coating applicators. Let me get rid of some of the soap that's worked its way in here. And I'll try the Irish Spring one though. Do you two-piece charger rear windshields? No, always one piece. It would be far harder for me to do a two-piece on that. They're not the easiest back windows to shrink, but basically nothing is ever two-pieced anymore.
Like it doesn't mean, that like.
Will small water pockets under the film dry out? Yeah. There's always going to be some film under the, or some water under the film after you're done. It'll always dry out. If they're bigger water pockets, they just take a lot longer, especially with it being so cold out. I'm looking at getting the C2 Carbon, the C2 Ceramic. Hope it lasts in Florida. It'll definitely last in Florida. Good choices. Those are what we're using right now. Ooh, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna pull up chat on here too, so I don't have to walk over there. Okay, can I airdrop? Oh, it's not a Windows, it's not a Mac. How do I get a URL without having to send an email? Do you have a black Sharpie?
Yeah. Just because the silver doesn't really show up on the board.
Ugh. Ah!
Did you get my pack of magenta Sharpies that you put down?
Huh?
They said they dropped it in the mailbox on Monday.
Oh, I haven't picked them up, so they're probably in the mailbox. We have that one. I gotta bring my dry erase. I gotta find those. A little better? Jason will grab some magenta ones. Yeah. We'll get something. We got a lot of Sharpies, but they're all silver. I don't know where my dry erase ones are. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. Any more, and it's really gonna start, like, no, over shrinking. So like, this is starting to look really tight, especially because it stretches across this whole window. So we're gonna see if it's still okay. With something like this, like, you should be able to smooth the film out without having to press too hard. But we'll see for this part. You see how it'll kind of like start to spring back? You just need to press a little harder here. But you're still okay. You're still within that margin of it was tight, but a little bit less next time. But you're looking for the right things. They were very even, which was good. That's good. Yep. I would card this section down now, right up to there. Yep. Okay, I should say before we get, how many cars have you shrunk a back window yet?
Yes, twice.
Twice.
3 times.
Okay.
3 times, 2 successfully played.
Okay. And then you're brand new, 0. This is the first one.
Very first one. Yeah.
Okay.
My biggest issues are edges.
Cool.
Always get those little bubbles that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that looks good. This is perfect. You don't want to go any more than that.
And just organize.
Yep, press a little harder with your card. See how it's springing back on you a little bit? So just press a little bit harder.
Okay.
But honestly, probably a little bit less on the shrink there. It's like, that's what you want it to look like though. Almost. So this is good.
Yeah.
We just need to shrink that.
Okay.
Because otherwise, like, because it does that or it does this.
Okay.
So we need it to
So we
face
can't
down,
shrink that.
and then we can shrink that. Yep.
Okay. The corners are okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can, on this one, it curves a little bit more, and they're all going to do, all back windows are going to be a little bit different in the way that they curve on the bottom. But as long as the finger is facing vertically,
Yeah.
you can shrink it.
Okay.
Yeah, careful on the side. So we want to just make sure this is flattened. Right there. Give it something to anchor to. Yep, all the way down. Really like straight down to here. And then we'll shrink from here over. But you have the glass aid on your side too. So what it's doing is it's causing the film to lift a little bit there.
I'm used to working with it.
Okay.
One thing that I was not aware of is you cannot, I mean, there is tape, but my corners would constantly pop up because the water underneath would
Okay.
dry. So,
The main couple of reasons. One, it could be overstretched. And 2, if you had cleaned your back window off and just like wiped it with like even glass cleaner and a towel, it still will leave like some smears behind. I find like if I use a squeegee and completely squeegee it dry, so I scrub it first, squeegee it dry, it'll lock down for sure. But if there's any type of like greasy smear under it, it'll start to release. So yeah, these, some more heat in here. This is still loose film. Right here, this is basically pulling right to here. So just a little bit more heat in here as well, and it'll lay down.
so with these,
Mhm.
do I need to worry about those?
No.
Okay.
So the dryer sheet is just a tack surface,
Okay.
but it'll still let air kind of like
Get out.
creep underneath.
Okay.
So it just depends on like how smooth you're able to shrink it.
Yeah.
They'll lock down,
Okay.
and basically as long as like you know, if you put, you'll just get used to what they kind of look like. But the longer we wait, it'll start to pop up, start to pop up, start to pop up. But yeah, they'll lay down.
Okay.
I want to try this, but it looks like it could get expensive to practice. It does suck, literally tossing film in the trash. The cheapest roll that I found is like $100. You can find it on Amazon. T-View, that'll help with that. It shrinks similarly. Yeah, just like a cheap dyed film. Cheap carbon films aren't super shrinking friendly. It's just a thing with carbon. Same thing for ceramic. But more people are buying cheap carbons and cheap ceramics because they block heat. So cheap dyed films just aren't as easy to come by as they used to. Okay, that's plenty. This all looks good. It's getting a little tight up here.
Okay.
Yep, just up to there. Perfect. So for this corner too,
Yeah.
we just want to, I'd loosen it up rather than trying to block off that much real estate on it. Just really like the very edge. Just because it forces this area to stand up so much more.
Yeah. So just like
So,
right there.
yeah, you can lift this up and then just tack that part down.
Okay. Got
And now this will be just a little bit flatter, give you a little bit more room to shrink with.
Okay. Could you crisp up this edge a little more before moving on?
The only thing that I would do is at this point maybe take a little water and just see how it lays, but it looks like it's fine. It's just the tape. So it might be something that I end up adjusting a little bit later. So like if I wet this down, stretch this out, now this finger is here, so I would shrink this. And then that's about all you could do to straighten that up. Cool. So these are gonna go straight up. Where it curves is gonna go out that corner. Yes.
Where'd you put the dryer sheets at?
Right here. Yep, and just push that straight up. There you go. So that finger can still be shrunk there.
Right here.
The little one on the side, you like, yeah, if it's literally like, so that you can see your dotted line here.
Yeah.
Either that's gonna turn into a bigger finger up here,
Yeah.
or if it's something really small and minor that's just on the side, I wouldn't even worry about it.
Okay.
It might be, there's always a chance it could be a little finger on the inside of the window, but if it's up in the top area, it's so quick and easy to touch it up. It's nothing to really worry about.
Okay. Started the curve.
Yes, because so at this point, I would just leave it alone. You should be fine still. Because what's happening now is like it's not even locking down here super well. That's why I put some water in here. Shrink that, and then for this is starting to get heat and shrink. And whenever the sides start to get heat, they're gonna start curling in.
Okay.
So this isn't ever gonna just like stay and lay down. What we'll do though is we'll trim this off and then just see how it's gonna lay down. And if it just lifts a little bit, it's not gonna be a big deal and we can install it.
Shrink down. Yeah, I see that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just this little bit and you're fine. Yeah, a little more heat. So you can get it right up here. I'm waiting to see a reaction. So it'll start to happen quick. But if I don't see it reacting right away,
Just keep moving.
there you go. Yep. There, you should be good. Yep, that's all fine. We would do a final touch up. So trim it, or like trim the window, pull the tape, and then touch up the bottom edge.
So with like these sharp fingers here,
Mm-hmm.
which way should I take them? Should I
So
put them this way?
that So this area right here
Yeah.
is a good example. The film, what's happening is just it's getting a little compressed.
Yeah.
So we can lift this. Sorry. And just get some air under it and kind of release it. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna shrink this whole area a little bit more rather than trying to like smush a finger somewhere. So a little bit more right in here. There we go. Because that same amount of heat down here would have made it shrink really quickly, right? It's just learning that balance. Like when you get farther out, it'll just take much more heat to shrink the same amount, like the same area.
Right.
Okay. So here we need to push this that way. Let me show you. It's just learning those patterns. So we're gonna lock this down. So this right here, this is looking still good. So we're gonna card that there. We're gonna match our card up with what it's doing. And then readjust this corner because I still got this swoop. I'm gonna readjust this corner, just lift it, push it out that way. That's about as good as I can do. And then see how it's a little bit more flat here now? I can continue to shrink that.
Should I shrink? Go ahead. No, go ahead. You're fine. Should I shrink kind of evenly or?
Yeah, that's kind of what you're doing is like you're looking for like to keep it straight up. Yeah.
Thank you.
It just helps with some organization.
So for these, should I relift and then re-shrink since I got some fingers running down below the dotted line?
You could a little bit.
Okay.
These aren't very big. You could also just blast them with a little heat and get them to lock down. But yeah, if you lift it up and flatten them out, you're past where you need to shrink anyways. So it's just like little extra. So as soon as you're past your dotted area,
Yeah.
like a little bit right here, but as soon as you're like up and past the dots, that's all getting trimmed off anyways. Ivory or dryer sheets? We're using dryer sheets. Does this guy even look at chat? No, never. Okay. Card this back down. Before we start shrinking that, the last little bit, we have to card that down. Press definitely harder. Yep. There you go. So this all needs to be swept over here. There you go. Yeah. And then this corner, because it's getting a little, like, it's popping back on you, but it can still be pressed down, right like that. It's just can be a little hard to tell. So don't lift it, and just shrink it right in here.
So once that's done, am I ready to go on to the cutting portion?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me grab a light for you.
I think there's one right here.
Yes. That one I think is going to die too pretty soon.
Okay. I'll swap it.
Okay. So if that one dies, you got that one too. There you go. Yep, that looks great. Exactly. Yep, a little more heat right in this area right in here, and then you're good.
Yeah, it's flashing. Does that mean
Oh,
it's
okay.
dying?
Yeah. So just use this one.
Alright.
See if I can get this one on a charger. Somewhere. This one? Is it this one? You keep talking about dryer sheets, but I must have missed that part. Yeah, that's the first part. So we use Snuggle dryer sheets. The brand does matter, but they sell these everywhere. So these ones right here, these are what we're using. And it depends on your film too, but it's a pretty safe bet across a ton of films. So dryer sheets are not meant for shrinking back windows. So it's finding things that work really well sometimes. Yes, the one with the bear. Does 50% sell well on the sides? No. No, I do it all the time on windshields though. 50 is super popular on windshields for me. Rarely ever do 50 on the sides. That place looks awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ivory or dryer sheets. I haven't tried Ivory in particular. I have a Dove soap bar, and I just got Irish Springs. So I'm going to try Irish Springs sometime today. Use Dawn on back windows. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can work. Soap bars are old school. Yeah, like baby powder. I've used dryer, I was introduced to dryer sheets, and that's what I've been using forever. Are these the same cars? Yes. Yes, we didn't swap out the cars. What's up?
Pack of 8 of them for $6 on Amazon.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and get some more. They work really well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would you recommend laying down a towel, not having your tool belt on while you're trying to like lean into a car?
Just be conscious of it. If you can find a way to stick a towel or something in the way, that's always better. But yeah, like moving your tool belt sideways like you have, so it's not scraping up against the car. Yeah, and just be conscious of like, yeah, anything that could, because stuff will, for sure. Mm-hmm. It's getting cheaper, thinner. People are more conscious about that kind of stuff too.
So I left the cut tape and dryer sheets over by the windshield, so you guys can probably attempt that once you know this. And then over here, this windshield is a lot tougher. So I just went ahead and I didn't put the cut tape on there. I just went ahead and put a dryer sheet on there in case you guys wanted to attempt that. But that is quite a bit more difficult than the windshield on this. And then the back glass too, I went ahead and just put the cut tape on there so you guys can see a little bit of what that's supposed to look like, but I didn't put the dryer sheet on there yet. In case you guys want to talk about it too.
Yeah, this windshield is funny. It's like dumb tall for what it is. This one you actually need a 40-inch roll. Most windshields, so Tesla, 36-inch roll. F-150s, Rams, like most vehicles, 36-inch roll is going to cover the windshield. For whatever reason. This one needs a 40-inch roll, and this one too is just a little on the tall side. 36 should cover this one, but they're like, for the size vehicles that they are, especially the Focus, I wouldn't expect that to need a 40-inch roll, but it definitely needs one. DSP, yeah, DSP is cool. We got some baggies here. DSP is a really good option. You just got to be, I think you got to be a little bit more familiar with shrinking, because people tend to put all types of amounts of water on, even with dryer sheets. They tend to just like kind of soak things down. So if you just apply too much, it makes it like overly sticky and difficult. So that's why, like the soap bars, I haven't seen them be bad at all. And same thing for the dryer sheet. It's like, it doesn't matter how much you put on it. We'll touch this one up. Two guys in the class this time. Yeah. Yeah, January's pretty light. February's booking up. And then we have another one scheduled for March. Is that a Harbor Freight light? Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are the icon lights from there. These are really, really good. Super bright. Rechargeable. Why are you using dryer sheet again? So the dryer sheet is a tack surface. You need some anchor points. So it basically adds some like structure to your shrinking. So it's easier to explain with a new sheet, so wait till the next one. But if I lift this, the tint will just kind of like hover and it'll be loose. So, but as soon as I cart it down, it's gonna stick where I need to. So as I'm shrinking it, it's like there's reasons you want it to float and like manipulate it. And then as soon as you shrink it, you can then tack it down and it'll stick, so you can move on to the next section. It's not just gonna like release and come back up.
Do you want them to give this another attempt, or should I just get them started on the windshield?
Whatever you guys want to work on, probably go through the, actually we should probably go through this again. So this area right here, we'll do it without the tape this time, but this would be locked down like that, and then I would go through and just reshrink this portion to make sure that this is all going to lay flat. 'Cause as it is, just like this is definitely going to release a little bit on the edges is where you're going to see it. This might all lock down, but it might look a little wobbly on the inside. But we'll roll this one up and we'll put it with the pile. And every few patterns that we lift, it's gonna take some of that dryer sheet with it. And so you can see some really bare spots here. So like this would be fine, and then it might stick extra aggressively to some of those areas. So we'll freshen it up. So just spritz it. Try not to soak it down. It'll still work, it'll just take forever to dry. But when you can have a nice even layer, it just helps. So just take the heat guns and dry this one out, and we'll be good to throw another piece on.
Thank
Yeah, this is a really good average back window. So if you guys can shrink this one, you can shrink most back windows. We still got some more difficult ones, like Daniel said, the windshield on this one, the windshield, both the Focus and the Altima, and then the Tesla as well. I was gonna see if I can. I was trying to see if I can. If somebody really smart in the chat, without having to go to an email, literally take this link for this window and move it 4 feet over to here so I can put it on the screen as well. Sending between a Mac and a PC.
Perfect because I was on my way home from this part yesterday, and I don't really want to like go out of my way and find something to eat. And all the stuff was on the opposite side of the road, so like I knew there was a little strip mall in front of the hotel.
URL to QR code.
Right in front of the hotel. Now I'm gonna have
What? I just need to set and just like copy and paste. Is it illegal to tint your front windshield? What? No. It's crazy. Yes, a little bit. Depending on the state. Depending on your state, depending on the laws. So, Michigan state laws are nothing on the front doors except the top 4 inches, which I don't know if they mean this or if they mean that. Same thing for the windshield. So, top 4 inches would be this far down, which makes no sense. That's not going to help anybody. And but if you have a doctor's note, there are no limits. Texas, you got to put stickers, right? We don't have inspections here. We don't have stickers that we have to put on. I used to think Michigan state laws were really bad. They're actually fine enough. If you have it on the front doors or you have it on the windshield, then you have to pull it off, but we don't have metered shades. You can go as dark as you want on the back. So that means cops don't roll around with meters checking if you have 20% on your back doors on your sedan. I'm starting to feel unseen and unheard. How much do you charge? Oh, it depends on what film you're going to get and what you want to do. So if we're doing all the sides and rear on a car like this, we would start at $290. That's in our Pro Classic film. $350 for carbon, which is going to be your best value. It's going to block out some additional heat. And then $450 for ceramic. If I'm missing a question, we're teaching a class right now, so that's going to be a major distraction, but feel free to just ask again.
Your rough cut, whatever, doesn't really matter where you cut, as long as you just check your outline before you go inside the glass. Obviously, no cut.
Maybe you run 2 HDMIs. Yeah, but I need like I have the browser. I just want to put it up there right now. I paid $450 for ceramic on a BRZ. Is that with a windshield or without? That's pretty normal. How would you cut 60-inch for windshields? I would order a different size for windshields. You don't need a 60-inch roll. Get a 40. Window film gets made in a 72 or a 60-inch roll. And then you can have it cut down or just order the size that you need ahead of time without having to get it cut down ahead of time. But trying to figure out a 60-inch and cut it yourself, it's just a lot of film to handle. Okay. I'm gonna ask my Chat GPT bro. Hey, I'm trying to send a link to a Windows computer from a Mac computer. What is the easiest way to do that?
Basically switching hands with the keypad. Right. Because a lot of times when I'm doing like this area, yeah, I'll be aiming it like that, and I'll switch.
You can use cloud storage services like Google Drive, Dropbox.
Oh my god.
That's how I had to do it.
Is there too much background noise for this thing to even work?
Exactly. So if you switch hands, you can just hand your
Its first response was you can use. Okay, let me ask it this way. What is the quickest way to get a link from a Mac computer to a PC? It's literally 5 feet away, and I just want to copy a link to a web page. Put it on that one. But the link is too long. We're going to see what it says. Because right now it's saying its first response was cloud storage. AirDrop to your phone, copy the link to your Mac, use AirDrop, then use a cloud clipboard service, Dropbox. It's like using my email. Whatever.
like this is where you want to start. So everything you
Let me see if I'm even logged in.
keep an eye on the different.
I'm not even logged into an email account.
You basically you
I just hate everything right now.
what has been shrunk and what needs to be shrunk. Right. Where you next point.
Yeah.
You're always looking for that curve to kind of figure it out.
Okay. Do you want to put this on for a little bit? Sick. Everybody, this is Daniel. He is my younger brother. He's been tinting for a long time. And he is qualified to have the phone.
Qualified to have the phone. How do I put this?
It'll just go straight in there. Sometimes it'll be a little tricky to clip it. There you go.
It's heavy.
Heavy as the crown.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yep. And so as you're doing it, you can see kind of same fundamentals as when we were doing doors when we were looking for the smile.
Yeah.
You're making exactly the same thing. You're just dry shrinking now. So anywhere you see this curve, it's already been shrunk. So you can go ahead, press it down, and then you look for the start of your new fingers.
No part of this has to be rushed. I can take my time.
Oh
Make sure
yeah.
I get it right.
Yep.
I feel like
Yeah,
if
but
we
like
start
I-
rushing it, we'll start
Like I said earlier, like you're basically always sticking to, the 3 core rules, which are you're always aiming the heat in the direction you want your fingers to go. You're always moving your heat around. You're never leaving it in one spot, and then you're never shrinking sideways. Those are always the three main things to keep in mind. Yep. So all this where you see the curve, you can go ahead and press that down.
Yeah, shrinking without the tape is a lot easier.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I mean definitely when you're doing a lot of your own cars, you really don't need to use the tape. It's mostly just as a thing for when you're doing customer cars and stuff like that. But it definitely will bunch up around where the tape is.
Yeah.
Yep, and all this is good, so you can just heat this out right here. Just make sure it doesn't go sideways. As it starts to go sideways on you, you can just redirect that back down. So like what you could do here is you could hold your card just to keep that in spot or in place. I mean, and then go ahead and heat that down. Yeah, and both you guys have a good hang on just kind of moving your heat around. A lot of times it tends to be like when we do these classes, it tends to be kind of a trouble spot for people to always like never know what to do with the heat gun. Like a lot of times they hold it too far away, or a lot of times they just get up too close with it and don't move their heat. But both you guys kind of have a good handle on it already.
I've burned one pattern, and as he was saying, it's really frustrating when you waste film.
Yeah, I mean it happens. But we're just here to practice. What is that?
Camera.
What about the camera? Oh, instead of looking at the window. Sorry, I didn't notice. Is there a way to like? Should I like tilt this up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'll put a preview up here for a little bit so you can kind of get an idea. So this will be on the screen. This will show what they're singing.
Okay. On the
And then the chat's up on
back
the
glass
screen,
up.
too.
Oh, well, I can't hear them. I can't talk to them.
They're right there.
But other guy is recording.
There's
Is one ply harder to shrink? No, one ply is easier to shrink, but it sucks. So right here, where all this is already curved, this can all be pressed up. You're just looking for that curve. And then like right here, like all this can go up. Yep, and all this right here, you can press all that up. The more you heat that, the more it's gonna tighten up on you. Because it's already shrunk. Yeah, that's good.
Is it better to learn on one ply? How come it's harder on two ply?
Better to learn with how come it's harder on 2-ply? Well, 2-ply is thicker, so it just it shrinks a little bit slower. But when you actually go to install 1-ply, it's very flimsy. It's likely not going to tuck very easily into the bottom, like on doors and stuff.
Get the camera a little closer.
Like this.
You can even hold it too. Like you can move it around. Like it's a magnetic mount.
Okay.
So you can even pull it off. Just be careful not to.
I would just be too scared to like take your phone out of here and like move it all
That's
around
okay.
and
It's
stuff.
for. But it's just a MagSafe thing, so you can literally just avoid.
Oh,
the
it
power button.
it just pops up.
Yeah, you can just literally take it off. So, like it's really, yep. And then you can
Mag
pull
safe.
it closer. Yeah. So if you don't need both hands.
Yeah.
Look at that. I'm a tint doctor. I got the tint stethoscope. Yep, got the tint stethoscope.
Told my wife about the stethoscope. I'm getting trained by a doctor.
Yep, and this little side finger that you have, if you want to, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
But you can redirect this up,
Yeah.
and you can go ahead and heat it out the same way as you heated out the other stuff. Yep. And that's all good. This way you got like a little pinch or whatever. You can always drag some air back into that just to go ahead and heat it out. So like I can try and show you here just to get some air going under here. Let me try to get this back where it goes. There. So all this up here you don't really need to keep heating. But like if I have a pinch, I can go ahead and take like a little pocket of air and like move it to that, and I can go ahead and heat that. You want to put a little bit of heat on that spot? Just as an example. So a little bit of heat and it'll kind of squiggle. I can press it, but I mean, probably need a little bit more air. Like see all that right there? I can go ahead and just put a little bit of heat on that, squiggle it, and then press it out. Just as an example, because like I can get little pinches and creases like that, and I can drag the air back under it to get it out. Is this your card?
So you would try, as you're doing this, to get all of this out.
Yeah, well, I was like when you most of the time when you get a pinch like that, it's not a big deal. But if it's something that's kind of like like starting to turn into a crease, you can go back to it and you can just get air under it, and then you can go ahead and heat it, and to get it out. What is the use of a heat gun? To shrink the windows.
They have it on 3132. So where the class.
Oh, why so small? Hard to press down. So since it's thicker, does it change the duration to shrink, or does the entire difficulty of shrinking change? Well, since it's really thin, it's just gonna like it's gonna shrink like twice as fast. But I mean, generally most films that you'll want to work with are going to be 1.5 to 2 ply. 1 ply is generally very cheap.
Make this place the one-stop shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when I lifted this up, I kind of let much more air under it, so we can just flatten that back down. This was all shrunk good, but now it's kind of like we just put too much heat on it after a while because we kept going back over it again. So there's like a little bit too much heat here. You guys think you're ready to?
Possible to lay flat though.
Probably, because if I were to cut this off, there would be less tension, so it'd probably be okay. But I saw earlier, like you had it, like it was shrunk just fine, but then we just kept messing with it. You guys want to give the windshield on this a try?
Yeah.
All right, we can come over here then. We can leave it for right now. We can cut it. We can cut it in a minute. But if you guys want to put, do you know where you put one of those scrubbers?
There was one I thought down here, right there.
Yeah, so I'm just going to do the same thing he did, where I'm just going to spray off the windshield and give it a quick scrub. Just to make sure the tape sticks, and then I'm going to have you guys put the tape on there. Just to get a feel for it. So then I'm just going to go ahead and squeegee this off like how he did.
I seen them. I seen them earlier.
I saw those might be his. Yep, so one of you can grab the cut tape there. I just need probably a... Okay, yeah, you guys can do either side. Let me just wipe off a little bit of that water there. Yeah, I would use the same roll, just go around with one roll, but one person can do one side and then the other person can do the other side.
Do you want us to go straight through here?
You can just go
Cut the line straight or go around it?
probably go straight across because if you do it down here, it might be a little bit tougher to shrink. So you can go straight all the way around.
Clockwise? Sound good?
What kind of card do you use to shrink? I use this guy, or you can use a MacTac. Is that floor that kind of lets water through? Yeah. I not see perfectly. I'm doing my best, I'm sorry. Yeah, so just take your time and follow that outline there. I really don't get it like perfect when I do it. What are you doing? I do it way better than that.
There's a reason I'm a professional.
I'm always perfect.
Well, it's like one of those things that, once you like it looks so easy when you do it, and then once you go to do it, it's like kind of weird. But I mean, the cut itself is more important than the tape.
She's yours. How far off the dotted line do you like to keep it?
I usually go like 1/8 of an inch, or just pretty much like right up to it. It's kind of a guesstimation because you've got like a full like 1/4 inch here, you know,
Yeah.
so you have some leeway. Yep, and just keep following that outline there. Yep, and then just right up to the point where it meets there. Yep, and then just cut it right at the end.
Yeah.
Yep, just like that. Yep, then I've already put a couple dryer sheets right here, so you guys can go ahead and do that next. What I do is I kind of soak them down, and then you want to wring it out a little bit. Like you want to use a little bit more water than that.
A little bit more than what?
Yeah, spray a little bit more water on that. Yeah, because you want to, and now what you want to do is you sort of want to kind of mush it with your hand to get the soapiness out.
Yeah.
At my work, we call it the creme de la creme. You want to get the creme de la creme out of the dryer sheet.
That's gonna help spread it better on the windshield.
Yeah, because if you don't get the soapiness out of it, then there's not really a point. You're just wiping water on the glass. And basically, the purpose of this step is that it lubricates the windshield.
Right.
So when you go to shrink it, you don't have a lot of friction between the tint and the glass. Yeah, and just where you have a little bare spot, you probably want to cover that. Yep. Then maybe just a little bit down here in the corner. Yep, that's perfect. And then if you want to just speed this along, you can go ahead and grab a heat gun and just go over it to dry it off. Is it a higher risk of creasing the film with that tape? Maybe a little bit. I mean, not especially. It'll just bunch up a little bit around the tape. The name of the tape is called Glass Aid. Yeah, and you really want it to be pretty dry because any spot that is wet is going to be sticky when you're shrinking it. So like you could be going smoothly along shrinking it and then all of a sudden it'll just get stuck. And you'll be like, "What went wrong?" It's probably because the dryer sheet was wet. I used to have that issue all the time when I first started shrinking. And I didn't understand.
Yeah.
But it's a huge, basically like setup is like a huge part. Like as long as you devote the time to doing the setup well, then the shrinking itself can go a lot easier. But that should be pretty good there. So you guys can grab the roll and get it on here. Wait, what did he say? Detroit Tint Studio stole my Bon Jovi CD right out my car. Yeah, I'm sure. Does it matter what brand of dryer sheets? It can. If you use Bounce, it'll be like not sticky at all. Like it'll be very loose. Snuggle tends to be a lot stickier. If you use off-brand, it'll be really sticky. Ooh, watch that gap right there. Pull it a little bit more your way. And then just go ahead and tack it through the middle to make sure that it stays in place. If you if you want to adjust it, go ahead. It's not a big deal, but it'll always be better to have it even. Yep, just like that. And then go ahead and do your rough cut. There you go. Beautiful. And for your guys' reference, I wrote you know, I did my best. It's magenta Sharpie. It's not, it would be better if it was in black. But, you know, you can reference here, I was mentioning the 3 main rules of shrinking. My writing isn't very good on the board.
That's fine.
But,
Good enough for me.
you know, always aim your heat in the direction you want your fingers to go. Always keep your heat moving. Do not shrink sideways. So the 3 fundamentals. A pamphlet. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to get in your way. Exactly. I should do something like that. When I was like first helping with the classes, one of the first things I said was that we needed to get a whiteboard and markers, just because like stuff like drawing the guide when you're shrinking or just like writing down steps like that, I feel like is so useful.
Learning so many little details during overall one large, overall. Like,
There's a lot of steps for sure. Yeah, but you guys are remembering the steps of shrinking really good. You know, not even having to remind you of how to set it up right. Yeah, I always too something that I like to do when I'm first starting is I always like to kind of rake my fingers through it to kind of split my fingers up just to get them as small as possible. It's not a huge deal, but it will just, when you're actually going to do it, it can make it go smoother. Yep. You guys should be ready to get started on that. I've used Bounce. Yeah, I used Bounce for a long time. Bounce is still very good. Yeah, I don't know who Double Comma Club is in the chat. They are a troll. Yeah, there's somebody in the chat that's just like trolling and typing stuff.
You get that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Matt sees that all the time.
Here. Oh, watch that where you're going to the side. Don't forget we don't shrink sideways.
Okay.
So just make sure whenever it goes out to the side like that, yeah, you just redirect it back down. Yep, and then where you see that curve, you can go ahead and press that down. Basically reset all your fingers. Yep, and where this is starting to go kind of diagonal, like I was saying when I raked my fingers to it, you can kind of just do that. Yeah, do that again to just kind of redirect it. And then here, this looks like it's mostly been shrunk already, so I can just press that out.
So you
And
try
then-
to follow, even if it's sideways, you try to follow the direction of, I guess, the excess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like how we did the doors when we were looking for the smile, I saw the same thing there. I saw the curve, you know, I saw the smile. So that means you can pull it out. So whichever way, basically you go with the path of least resistance. As long as you're not heating here on the side, you can still drag stuff out to the side. So I saw that it was bunched up and there was kind of tension in here. So I just pulled it out, and you can see that your fingers start about right here now.
Okay.
So this is where you want to start heating up. Because there's a clear difference. Like, just learn how to recognize it, because you can kind of see the curve here,
Yeah.
but you can see where it's just a finger here. There's no curve in it.
Yeah.
So like this is like shrunk, and this is where my fingers are. So you kind of get that idea. The more you do it, the more you'll be able to see it and recognize it. Is this yours?
Yeah. Do some windows make sense instead of doing in quadrants to maybe do like your straight across and then down up as a tack point, and then you're actually working off of dedicated quadrants, like your center point?
Not necessarily, because it's still kind of the same thing. I mean, if so, just because you're working in quadrants doesn't mean you have to do one quadrant completely before you do another one. Something that I used to do all the time when I first started was I would shrink this down to about this point halfway, and you can kind of see where there's a little bit of a pull here. I would switch over to the other side and then heat that down and then come back to this. And the reason for that is because as you shrink one side, you'll start to get extra tension.
Okay.
So basically going to the other side and heating that out relieves that tension. Like I'm talking like this right here.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it helps to think of it that way, you can think of it that way. Like just have it in halves. But just keep in mind that like you're still doing the same thing, but it's just that one whole section doesn't have to be done in one go.
Okay.
And like if you're working on like a really hard back glass, like let's say a Corvette for instance, you're gonna probably want to start at the center point and just kind of work your whole way around, like a little bit of each section at a time.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't cut it off, you just work it as it goes.
Yeah, basically you just work from your center point all the way around.
Gotcha.
Looks like you're getting the hang of it over here. Did you have any questions or anything? Anything that kind of sticks out to you?
Not yet. I mean, at the bottom here, like I feel like it's shrunk. It looks shrunk. It's just the tape's allowing air in. Is that normal?
Right. Yeah. This is good. This is like you're all set. So
Okay.
once you pull that tape out of there,
Yeah.
you're just gonna be able to heat that right down. So yeah, that's not a big deal at all. You can start with the top. Yep. And right here, that's good. So you just go ahead and just finish this off. Watch out here. Don't forget. Don't shrink on. Sorry, I can't talk. Don't shrink sideways.
Good, sir.
Yep, and you can just use your card there to hold it and just kind of finish off that finger there. Yep, just be careful where it wants to go out to the side. The tape is probably getting in your way a little bit. Most of this you can press down. Most of
Okay.
this is good to be pressed down, and then your finger is right here.
Gotcha.
So you can go ahead and just finish that off there. Yep, and that's pretty much done. So you can start at the top there. This where it's lifted up a little bit, that's just from the tape.
Okay.
So once you peel the tape, you'll be able to just finish that off. Yeah, I'm Daniel, or Danny. Yeah, and then just be careful right here where you see a little bit of a pinch right here. You can just press that out. Just make sure you don't overheat it, because if you keep heating where that pinch is, it can turn into a crease.
Would you recommend like lifting it up and putting air back in there and then
No, you don't need to do that. All I need to do is just if I just go ahead and just press this down.
Okay.
Now I'm pretty much in the clear.
And what about like something like
That I could, well, I mean that I was able to pull out with even dragging air under it. But if it was kind of stuck in there, then yeah, I would just pull some extra air under it, and then heat it like how I showed you before. This you're almost over shrinking it. You're an overachiever. Just be careful where it was getting a little bit pinched right there, and then I can go ahead and press this down because that was where you saw that curve forming. That was shrunk. So your fingers really start up here now. So just like be mindful, like when you're looking at it, you're looking for that curve. And once you see that curve in it, like, squiggle or just whatever, or, the tension in there, you can just push it. You don't have to keep heating it because the more you heat it, you're going to add tension to a spot that already has tension in it. That's good. That's all shrunk, so you can just go ahead and press that out. Almost too much tension there. Yeah, if you were to cut this, it would relieve the tension here and it would stop pulling away like that. But you can go ahead and cut it, same as what he's doing right here. Yep, and I've noticed when I cut on the tape, I usually hold it a little bit more direct, than when I'm just cutting flat on glass. Like, remember when I said yesterday, like when I cut on flat glass, I usually cut like that?
Yeah.
I usually find when I cut that way on tape, I need to kind of give myself a little bit less blade. Like, I need to cut just a little bit more direct on the tape, but then I just use a little bit less pressure, so I don't quite cut all the way through. Have I ever done a windshield on a 1986 Jeep Cherokee? I don't think I've ever done an 86. I've done like the 90s Jeeps. Why not use the plotter for that front windshield? Because they're learning. They don't have their own plotters. Everybody keeps asking, why aren't you using a plotter? Why aren't you using a plotter?
Well, they're really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's just got one of those lying around.
You said you took a loan out for it?
No, I found one at Dollar General.
Yeah.
Yeah, five below. Is that the most comfortable way to hold the blade?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like a pencil, sort of. As I'm making the fine cuts, sort of,
I
yes.
see.
Or when I'm trying to. One of the two.
What do they do? I think it's pretty much just whatever feels comfortable.
Depends on how good you are at details as a person. 'Cause, like, I shake a lot at the best of times.
Yeah, I mean, I get shaky hands too. Probably more when I drink more coffee. When I drink coffee, I get really jittery and my hands shake a lot.
I have a lot of caffeine. I get that way.
Like with me, in order to keep my hands steady to make these try to use like my fingers as a work rest.
Yeah, I do kind of the same thing.
It's like if I free float in my hand, I'm just real shy.
Yeah, I rest my wrist a lot against the glass as I cut it.
Give you more stability. Very nice.
Yep, and then we can roll this up and set it aside for later because we'll be doing installs later, and I want you guys to give this probably one more go.
Yeah.
But you definitely think you guys are like as far as all the steps go, you guys seem good at shrinking. Is my takeaway from this right here is you definitely are much further along with shrinking than like a lot of students we get, for sure. Where did you guys put? Yeah, you wanna grab that roll there? I can just find. Yeah, I'll probably just put it over here or something. What's the 90s Jeeps like on the windshield? I think they're pretty flat. Front windshields get replaced all the day, hardly factory, even on new vehicles.
Right there. Might have to pull it some your way. I've got a bunch of excess if you need some.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw that zone on here one more time, mostly just so people watching on stream can see.
You want to put that in the left?
You want me to finish that? There you go. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so what I showed these guys is that when you shrink, you're basically working in 4 sections. So I kind of draw an arrow to go down here, and up here, down here, up here. And you've got these 4 areas that you're working with. Once you can afford a plotter, which one is the best? Probably GraphTech, but GraphTech is very expensive though. Here we're using a Workhorse, which is a lot cheaper. I mean, $325 for a class is very cheap, so I'm not sure I would have a lot of confidence in those teachers. Yeah, GraphTech CE is a very good plotter line. I've used GraphTech CE. Yep, and all that where you already see the curve, you can go ahead and press that down. But it's good technique. You're sticking to all the fundamentals very well. Yeah, this exact tension right here. When you were asking earlier, about like about like do you necessarily have to divide it into quadrants or whatever? That's the exact kind of tension I was talking about, where you may want to, stop on this side, go over here and do this side, just to get that tension looser. You know, I used to do that all the time when I was shrinking back glasses. Using the right window film is one of the most important to shrinking, I could find out. Yeah, it does matter a lot. You can have film that's extremely difficult to shrink and film that shrinks like butter. Got your tool starter kit. That's good. Yep, that's good. You can just start heating right here, because you can see the curve right here, and you can see how it looks different right here. Yeah, that you can drag all the way out. That's all the way shrunk. Yep. That's it. I was just about to say, you'll probably want to drag that tension out right there. You just did. You saw it. You recognized that it was shrunk, and you pulled the air out.
Very satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it definitely can be.
I'm sure it can be fresh.
Yep, and that's good. You can go ahead and drag all that out too, and that's shrunk. I 40 feet if you did Amazon to practice front windshield tint. It's actually pretty good, but sometimes heat gun blowing weak air can be hard to shrink. Yeah, I definitely like the Wagner Furno pretty much all the time because all the other heat guns I've ever tried didn't blow out enough air. Tinting outside in 20 degrees doable? I wouldn't recommend it. Will the applying be on this session or after? It'll probably be after lunch. We'll be doing installs of back glasses and windshields.
I'm gonna freak out at the smallest little piece of sand in the mats.
Yeah, this you can here. Let me see your card. This you can press out, and like if it's kind of fighting with you a little bit, you can just hold your card right here. Like I can do this. I can hold it right here to make sure it doesn't come out of place, and I can heat it at the same time, just to kind of finish that off there, just to give you an idea. Because sometimes I just see you almost shrinking just kind of too much. And you really don't need to, but
So like for this, I know it probably has something to do with
yeah, it's just lifting up because of this and because of the tape right here.
Okay.
But when you cut it, it should be fine. Yeah, and if you guys want as well, we can always practice a window or two without the tape, just so you can see like what is being caused by the tape and what isn't.
yeah. I feel like we this one went pretty quick.
It did. You guys are definitely getting the hang of it. Give yourselves a pat on the back. Yep, there you go. I noticed that when Max shrinks the windshield, he does what you're saying. He stops when he gets to the middle and goes to the other side, and as he shrinks the other side, the middle starts to relax, so you can push it up. Yeah, I used to do that all the time with back glasses. When you're dealing with big back glasses that are kind of curved, it really helps to just kind of do a little bit at a time and kind of work from a center point. I haven't really ever bought tint off of Amazon, so I don't really know. I think Matt has bought tint off of Amazon before. What temperature outside would be preferred? Would 40 be okay? 40 would still be pretty cold. I would probably be more worried just if it's windy and stuff. If it's windy, it can kind of blow the tint around. But I don't know. I would probably wait for like 50 degrees or something like that if I was going to tint outside. Maybe 60. So I'm not sure if Solax is good or bad. I haven't tried Solax. I don't really know. Is GeoShield good at shrinking? I'm currently using Tint X and struggling. GeoShield is usually pretty good. It might be just a little bit thick of a film, so it might like require extra heat. So the issue might be I don't know, maybe it might be your heat gun or lack of heat on the tint there.
I don't know, man. I feel like I can knock out a couple goals pretty nicely.
Get the best tint, it seems you have to purchase 100-foot roll. Can't get much for a roll. Yeah, pretty much every good kind of tint I ever used was a 100-foot roll. Sequin heat from Amiga because it was in the $30 range, but if I were to buy another, I would try. How you like the Inferno? I always get the Wagner Furno. Wagner Furno is superior to every heat gun in my mind. I've tried $100 heat guns and they didn't work as good as the Wagner for now. Windshield was one of the easiest shrinkers. That may be true. I haven't. Matt would know a lot more about the different GeoShield lines than I do. The only ones I've seen that Matt has are classic and carbon, and to me they both work pretty well. You guys doing your we'll definitely show reverse roll. We'll show both Frankenstein and reverse when we get to it.
Imagine transferring it to the inside. I've seen people like spray, take the liner completely off, spray it, put the liner back on, hold it up, and then move it to the inside.
You guys interested in doing the back glass on the Focus over there?
Yes, I mean.
Can see a hatch back glass here. I'll take that. We could probably use. I think we can use the smaller roll for this Focus. Yeah, for the Focus, we just need the smaller roll. Yeah, so I already got the tape on there. So we just need the dryer sheet. What do you think of all the different tint steps so far? What do you kind of think you like so far? Shrinking, cutting, back glasses, doors.
Yeah, I like doors. They're relatively straightforward. It requires a small amount of shrink. And for me, that's pretty plug and play. Like if I spend too much time shrinking something, as you said, if I overshrink.
Yeah.
I think I had that problem with doors.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think doors when it comes to laying, I think require quite a bit of technique. But when you're shrinking doors, I think it's really easy and straightforward.
Front window, I feel like I got a lot more of the shrinking. Started to like make more sense to me.
Did you say the windshield or the door?
The front windshield.
Front windshield. This one might need to be replaced. I can probably grab you another one. Yeah, once you've done a few windows with a dryer sheet, you can grab. Or is that a new one?
I think so. It's dry.
Okay. If you need a new one, there's a few in there still. But yeah, you'll generally get like a few windows out of a dryer sheet before you have to replace it. But yeah, when it starts to get more like this, that's when you need to replace it because you're pretty much just wiping water on there. I mean, it's just because it was still kind of wet, and probably that dryer sheet was used once already. But I mean, that'll still work. It's not done. That should be good there. Man, it is cold. I'm so cold.
You want some heat?
I'll survive.
I've done a couple garage jobs where it's just like good.
Yeah, every time you open the door, it just becomes freezing cold and all the wind blows in. Yeah. Dude, I've worked in one before that was like a wind tunnel when both garage doors would open up. It would be
so much cold.
it would be okay, and then all of a sudden you'd open it up and it would just the temp would drop like 10 degrees just from having the door open for a second.
And then one thing, I'd be a little bit happy in the Caribbean.
Yeah, you're telling me.
You ever been?
Caribbean, not quite. No, not quite. No, I've never been in the Caribbean.
If you like Florida, you should go to the Caribbean.
I probably will someday. I just don't. I don't take vacations too often. I kind of need to more.
The Dominican's pretty nice too.
What is that?
The
Dominican.
Dominican.
Yeah. Yeah. The only place I've ever been out of the country was Costa Rica.
Nice.
Yeah, Costa Rica was super nice. I liked Costa Rica a lot. And it stays 70 like year round there. You have the rainy season and you have the dry season.
Rain's okay. I can deal with it as long as it doesn't freeze, turn into ice. I'm
Well,
cold. I
yeah.
gotta go get some firewood. I'm good.
Yeah, it was super nice just staying at that perfect temp. Thanks for the vocal tips. You're welcome. Mr. Shade is a problem. Thanks for the advice, everyone. Thanks for the knowledge. Of course. Bye. I start teaching myself. That's good. When is your next class? Probably next month, I think. She did trade for years. The best at explaining techniques. You will learn a lot from his videos. Yep, you will definitely learn a lot from his videos. Geoshield Pro Classic, and I like it, but it's all I've ever used since I only this year used the 100-foot roll. Yeah, I do like Classic. It's good. It shrinks very easily. Works good. What is the point of dryer sheets? It lubricates the back window, so when you're shrinking it, there's not going to be a lot of static or tension on the glass. And don't you want to squeegee that window clean before shrinking? We did that earlier. Yeah, we got this one all ready for the students. We're gonna go ahead and try shrinking this one. We're working on that backlash now.
Okay.
We did this one more time, and then we did the windshield a couple times.
Uh-huh.
So now we're moving on to the backlash over there.
Okay.
Ask him if he wants to switch sides. He's been doing a lot faster. Does it necessarily matter to get practice on both sides?
Only if basically like only if you're working on switching hands and stuff. 'Cause like usually when I do a back glass, I'll usually be doing like this, like right hand will be pressing down, left hand will be holding the heat gun, and then I'll switch.
Yeah.
Left hand will be holding the heat gun, right hand will be up.
So it'd just be inverse. So
But I mean, it's definitely good to practice using both hands. Did you wanna switch sides with him since
Yeah,
you
that's
guys
cool.
have kind of always been?
yep. Got enough.
Yep. And then just go ahead and cut it there. Yep. So just go through the middle, and then I'll show you what I do with this right here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and just snap my blade. And what I do is I just cut, like, basically I look for where my dots are here, and I'm just gonna make a bit of a slit right there, just to get myself started. And then I'll go ahead, just cut down, and then I can rip down here a little bit, just like that.
Okay. So you try
So
to get
now-
it as flat as possible. You don't want to lift it off.
Well, you just want to make sure that you're not ripping into, where the tint is going to be covering when you install.
Okay.
So as long as you can just get that out of the way, because what could go wrong if I were to leave this here is basically it will just all bunch up around there when I'm shrinking it. So as long as I rip it away from there, it should lay down much easier. If I want to clear this out a little bit more, I can just go ahead and just cut a little bit extra too. It's ripping a little bit right there, just like that. So rip that down, and then same thing, rip that down, and now you're totally in the clear. But yep, yeah, that's it. Yeah, everything else is pretty much same as what we were doing on the other one. And if you want to as well, since there's quite a bit of excess up here, you can cut some of this off too. You don't necessarily have to, but most of the time I tend to. I just don't. When it comes to other back glasses like this, I just don't like having as much excess, just because of the way I do it. I don't do like a ton of like pole shrinking
Yeah.
when it comes to smaller windows like this. Yep, and just be careful, like not to give yourself too much to shrink all at once, because if you push all this in here, see how this is kind of like looks a lot more intimidating now. It might be better just to have a little bit going down, kind of like this, a little bit, and you can always move it back here, but just be mindful that like the more you push into here, the harder it's gonna be to shrink out of here because it's gonna be more bunched up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, and then just remember, aim your heat in the direction you want your fingers to go there.
At the angle that this is, it's a little harder to see because the light reflecting.
Because of the light? Yeah, not really anything I can do about that, sorry.
No. But it is a challenge to be aware of.
Yep, and just, here, let me get that hair out of there really quick. This actually, see, this is partially just because you guys, like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but when you pulled this side, there was still a little bit of air trapped right here, so that's just what that air was.
Oh.
But it's always important, just as a
I cut
side.
my midpoint a little higher on this one too.
Yeah, just as a side note, it's always important when you start that first step, try not to have any air here in the center. Try to make sure you pull it as tight as you can. But it's not a huge deal because I just saw it right there, so I just wanted to make sure we got it out of there.
Okay.
Then I'm just gonna draw that zone one more time. There we go.
My side keeps lifting over here. It's like it's not wanting to stay.
This partially just because it's a really curved window.
Yeah.
So just focus on this area right here. Anything that comes out to the side, just either redirect it back down or just don't heat it just yet. Or yeah, you can just do that technique like that. That works fine. Be careful right here where it's going up against the wiper. You just want to make sure that it doesn't go too sideways on you.
Okay.
'Cause then
Still
it-
want to
'cause-
keep it kind of tacked down right there.
Yeah, well, you just kind of want to stay a little bit away from it. Like this is okay because it's just off the dots. But the more you heat this, the more it's gonna want to get into the window.
Okay.
So like when you're heating right here, I can just block it with my card.
Sorry, Matt. So sorry.
Yeah. When I'm heating right here, I can just block it with my card and then press it down safely just to make sure that I don't mess that up. And then I can go back here and I can start heating all this down like normal.
Kind of treat this edge, if this is an edge, as your side.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, be careful. So same thing as what I told him. Be careful when you get up here next to the wiper, because this is going to try to go sideways on you.
Okay.
And so when you get too close to it, just go ahead and block it with your card and just heat down right here.
Okay.
Right here, I can pull some of that tension out of there because it was shrunk, and you just want to make sure that you don't over shrink it.
Okay.
And then you can go ahead and heat these fingers out right here. Just be careful you don't let it go too sideways on you. This is kind of part of just like when you go up against a window that's kind of more curved,
Yeah.
it'll fight with you a little bit. So like that's all that's really going on right here is because it's so curved, it kind of wants to go sideways and wants to mess with you. So just like
Try to keep it.
yeah, you might need to like be a little bit more aggressive with your card or just keep redirecting it a little bit more. But you've got the right technique going.
This could be a good indicator that the tape's messing me up. I know there's a finger.
Yeah,
right
it's not like messing you up, but yeah, you can just pretty much stop right there
Okay.
and finish it off when we take the tape off. Yeah, and then right here, you've just got a few fingers to finish off, and you're all set there. Yep, that's good. I can actually teach you guys an extra technique too
Yeah.
with this top.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if Matt did it at all when he was demonstrating on that back glass, because he does this quite a bit when he shrinks, but this is a technique called pull shrinking. And what I can do is I can just grab and pull this tint, and I can basically tell my fingers where I want them to go. So like this, like it kind of wants to go every which way. If I go ahead and I just pull this straight up, I can just start to heat it and just go a little bit at a time, and just use, like how I'm just pinching it at the end there.
Yeah.
I can just use my fingers to create the direction that I want my fingers to go in. I've pulled a little bit too much air into this, but still is the same. See, and then same thing here where I got my next fingers here.
Yeah.
I can do this. See how how it keeps wanting to go out to the side here?
Yeah.
I can just go ahead, pull it a little bit, heat it, and then finish it off like that. Just like that.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, so with that, you're just keeping a lot of like vertical tension.
Yes. Basically, what you're doing is you're saying to the fingers, I want you to go this way. So when you grab them and pull them and heat it in that direction, it basically has no choice but to heat in the direction that you pull it.
Okay.
But here where you see there's a little bit of extra
Yeah.
stuff here, I can just go ahead, lift it, sort of redirect it, and just get a little bit of extra tension to kind of finish this off here. Basically, I mean, I do this all the time when I do this back glass, but anything like that where you see like it's a little bit extra, I can just go back over it again just to get that little bit of extra tension in it. This one's mostly as done as it can be because of the tape. But yeah, just to kind of finish this off a little bit. Just like that. Yep, and then you can just finish off your fingers here. Did you pull shrink on the end there, or were you just doing the regular technique? Okay, that's fine.
Is it easier to do on the corners? I have a lot of film, or I had a lot of.
You'll probably run into some back glasses that you have to do it. This is a good example of a car to show how to pull shrink. Yeah, like how you're doing right now. It's just something that's good to practice, because there will be back glasses where you kind of have to do it, or it's just much quicker to do it that way. I mostly just want you guys to see it as a technique,
Yeah.
I don't want you, to leave this class and be like, "Oh, that asshole didn't tell me that.
I didn't.
He didn't teach me this."
Go home on Friday and forget everything.
Forget everything.
That would be terrible.
Don't forget the pop quiz we're having on tomorrow.
Do great. It's just a little
The final exam.
senior year. I passed all my tests. My sleeping. Nice. Aced.
It's good planning. Yeah, then you guys can go ahead and cut this. and we'll set it aside. We'll do another one of these, and then after lunch we're gonna work more on installs. We'll be learning how to install both back glasses and windshields. What's pull shrinking? That's where you grab the film and you heat it rather than just pressing it down with your card. Yep, I always like to teach that as a technique because it's very helpful and useful when it comes to early curve back glasses. Didn't get taught that in my tint school. Get your money back. You can make straight cut from wiper, and after you can make round cut. Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, it can probably be a little bit trickier cutting on this, just with it being more curved, like going around the edges and stuff. You're not working with quite as flat a surface, but just whenever it feels like your blade is getting dull, just go ahead and snap the end of it. And then I think I mentioned to him, I don't think I mentioned to you, but like I think I told you yesterday, when you're cutting on open glass, I usually like to have a lot of blade out. I like to cut pretty flat against the glass, but when you're cutting on tape, you do need to have it just a little bit, basically a little bit less blade and a little bit more out, because then you don't have to put as much pressure on the tape. It's just slightly different. You don't want to put too much pressure because you don't want to cut through the tape. But you do cut at a slightly different angle, I find, when I cut on the tape. Just for your own reference. Yeah, and then I'm just gonna finish off this cut right here. Just ripping it all the way across. Oh, dang, tape got a little bit messed up there. That's probably what messed you up a little bit. It looks like it got kind of wet under there from the dryer sheet or something.
Since these windows are stationary, they don't roll, they don't move. Some of them, most of them, are sharp edges, sharp little bits. So like, if I had a little burr or something at the top, is it important to get that out before install? Yes, it can catch on stuff, but
if you burned it while you shrunk it,
yeah,
you would probably want to trim the end off of it, Because if it's all the like if it's just lifting up a little bit, it doesn't matter too much. You're probably just gonna be able to heat it down on the inside if you need to. But if it's actually burned, it's probably never gonna quite lay flat. So you're probably gonna want to trim it off. But that's why when you shrink, you leave yourself some excess like that, because you're gonna be able to just trim off whatever you singe or burn or whatever. So you give yourself quite a bit of leeway, and I've had times where I've even like creased it, like here inside the window, but because I had that excess, I was able to kind of move it up a little bit and get my crease off of the window.
Okay.
Because you can always, like, not necessarily with this one since you're not working with as much slack, but like on probably like that back glass, for instance, if I had a crease that was just inside the dots, but I had some extra at the bottom, I could slide the back glass up to get that crease off the dots right there and into the black ceramic. But that's kind of just why you leave yourself some extra, to give yourself some wiggle room like that, that sort of thing. But I can take that. You guys can go ahead and do one more. Man, I am getting really hungry.
What's that?
Said I'm getting really hungry.
Oh, I'm hungry too.
All that talk about Wingstop.
Oh,
Can't beat chicken wings, man.
no. And they have like a Frisco, kind of like a steak and shake Frisco sauce in a way, Thousand Island fries.
Man, that sounds good. Oh, dang. I'm starving. I didn't eat a whole lot last night. It was like getting too late to eat.
Pretty much went, ate, laid on my bed, watched Tiger Woods. Have you seen that new golf league? It's like an indoor golf league.
I have not. I'm not like I like Tiger Woods. I don't watch a ton of golf, but
It's like a indoor golf simulator league, and all the pros are playing together and everything. It's pretty neat.
that is pretty cool.
Yeah, I watched that and watched a little
Tiger's actually playing like right now.
in the league. Yeah.
Where's he at? Is he like low in the rankings, or
He's looking for some redemption.
it's gotten too old.
Yeah, well,
His
reps really,
his legs are falling apart.
yeah, they really,
Yeah, if you want to do that trick there, just cut a little slit, and then you can rip down. Oh yeah, just make sure you tack it down.
Little more this way.
that good.
You can always finish cutting this and then move it too if you have a little bit of extra slack, like if it's slightly off. Yep, that's good. And then like yeah, if it's like too close there, I can just go ahead and just move it just a little bit. Sorry, it slid a little bit. But I could just slide it down just a little bit like that. And then, like I did before, if you want to make it easier, you can just go ahead and just cut that and that side to get it off there. Yep, and then before you guys start, just kind of like how you checked like that. It's just a good idea, just to make sure that this is all the way tight. So I might grab the very edge, and just run my card through it. And same thing on this side. I might just run my card through it. See, there was a little bit of extra air right there, so I'll just go ahead and lift it, pull it to the side, flatten it out, and that's just to make sure that you get maximum stretch out of the film before you go to shrink it. I'll just draw that zone one more time for the camera. Be careful about this going too sideways on you, because you still want to keep it like that. Like you don't need to quite worry about this just yet, but you want to make sure that this is going like if you keep directing it like that, it can start to create a different problem for you. It can start to go too sideways.
Okay.
So still just make sure you're going down like this, and then just as you get down here, that's when you want to make sure that it stays away from that edge there.
There's no need to like focus on this point and then worry about
Right,
it, like, just-
right. Tesla windshield. Show me how to shrink a Tesla windshield X model. I don't think I've ever actually done the X. I've done the Y and I've done the 3 and the S. I don't think I've ever done the X. You installed that on the outside? No, we don't install on the outside. We're shrinking. Yeah, we try to be very thorough. I'm 20, I want to start my own little tinting house. So what steps should I take to start? I would take a look at the site, at Matt's site, and get a starter kit, and then look at your different options for film. Maybe just grab something cheap to practice, and maybe even take a class. Yes, you shrink the tint on the outside and you cut it. You do pretty much all the steps on the outside, and then you just go to install it on the inside at the very end. That's good. That's good technique. Good. Yep. There you go. Yeah, and then here you wanna just be a little bit careful, because this you're still gonna shrink like normal.
Yeah.
And then you're just gonna be careful as it gets to this edge here, just to make sure it doesn't go sideways. Yep, just like that. And then you can go ahead and do like that, that trick. Yep, just like that. It's beautiful. Yep, that's good. Yeah, and as you get to this part,
Yeah.
be careful not to keep pull it. You so as I get over here, if I'm still gonna pull this way, I'm telling it to go diagonal,
Yeah.
right? So as I get more, then I'll grab it right here, and I'll keep grabbing it to make it go straight up.
Okay.
Yep. Then you just keep working your way across there. Yep. And that's most of what you need right here.
Yeah.
So now you can pretty much flatten all that out and then start working on your very top right there. Yep, that's good.
I like that pull shrinking.
What was that? You like that?
That pull shrinking, it's a quick finish.
Yeah, that's what I was with a window like this. It can be a really useful technique, and you can leave as much excess or whatever you want to grab onto when you do it. Like there are some windows where you'll want to leave more tint to grab onto. It can be a matter of personal preference. Yeah, then you just want to be careful not to burn your hand.
That's what I did.
It gets hot quick. Now, fingers right here. Since I could cut this, I can flatten it out right here. Cut all this excess off. Will this come back to haunt me?
This right here will not. This right here you'll probably want to heat down a little bit. Like I can show you how I would just finish this off. You can just kind of use your hand just to kind of block where it's going out to the side, and then just use the same technique where I go carefully over this just to finish it off. Like that. That's all I really need to get out of there. And then this right here, I don't really need to worry about because it's completely off the tape.
Okay. Sweet.
Yep, that's good.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, so you guys can go ahead and cut this, and we'll save it for an install. And I'll have you guys try to tackle the windshield on this. How much was a class? If you go on Matt's site, I think it's 313 Tint. I think it has the classes and the price list. I think it's like 313.com or sorry 313tint.com or something like that. If you type in Detroit Tint Studio, it should come up on Google. Is Matt the only person that installs the tint if one was to book service with Detroit Tint? I think he has a couple other people who tint sometimes. Then not stop watching videos for tinting. It's a great way to learn. For what you use tape around to. So that's it's called glass aid cut tape. And what that's for is to protect the glass as you cut it. That's not necessarily a problem to cut on glass, but it's like an extra safety precaution. It'll make sure that you're not scratching it.
Yeah.
Do you wanna take this back, Maddie, so I can use the bathroom?
No.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
No, we got lunch, so we'll pause it for now.
Okay.
But yeah, I can take it back.
I don't know how
There's
to.
a button somewhere.
I don't know where the button is.
Yeah, where is the button? Oh, right here. There we go.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do good? Did I do
And I
okay?
need the mic.
That's right.
One.
Here. Thank you. Chat, did he do okay? I'll let them answer.
Let's see. There were a few people talking.
It's good.
Do you know who the double club is?
The what?
There is somebody with the name Double Comma Club who is typing a bunch of troll stuff in the chat.
Oh, no, I didn't see it. Is Matt the only person that installs a tent? If it was a book with Detroit Tint? I typically do. I'm not the only one, but I typically do. All right. All right, guys, we're going to pause this for now. We'll be back a little later for installations. Bye.